Sonic Universe issue 80. Right away the issue irritates the hell out of me because the city council doesn't believe Vaughn about what Silver did when they know the people with magical powers exist, so they have no reason to be skeptical of anything right now. Instead, they say that they have no time for his crackpot theories. When it's not a theory, he's saying it like it really happened. This writer writes almost just like Flynn, immediately making me hate the story by having characters act like baffling idiots. Though I guess he has creativity over Flynn because he came up with a few new ideas, which makes the arc interesting. While Flynn would have probably written Silver's future to still be a desolate wasteland with Ifrit in exactly like in the games. In fact, I'm wondering how this future world is even compatible with the earlier one. Because wouldn't Ifrit have destroyed the city by now? This is just a deus ex machina to save Silver from the council. And even though they're bad guys, that doesn't mean I'll be happy about them being so baffling that they're impossible to believe in. This kind of writing is why I take days to force myself to read a single issue of the reboot. I know I'm gonna get pissed off by it, and it always happens, when I could review a good comic instead. This was not what the previous story was leading up to. I thought they'd recruit Silver into their military. That could have been interesting. Already the story has lost my respect when it's not even past the first real page. And I went into this hoping it'd be good. We didn't need an extra page of them not believing him either. This wasn't funny, so what was the fucking point? Silver sees the professor walk away sadly and then feels guilty for not trusting him. And then out of complete nowhere, there's a dinging sound, and a person with a yellow text bubble calls Silver Young One, and says that if he truly has the power to stop this, he should return here tonight. What the fuck was that? It's intriguing, but this better make sense. Because now I'm wondering what took this convenient person so long to reach out to Silver, instead of talking to him the minute he closed a portal if this is what this is all about. Maybe there's somehow a range limit on the telepathy. Is it because Vaughn kept talking to him? Wouldn't this person have talked to him on the way to the council? This can't be Tikal because the text bubble isn't pink. He's not that kind of psychic normally. And again, there would have obviously been security cameras that would capture what Silver had done last issue if this was such a technology-focused utopia. Their inexplicable absence is the only reason the story progresses the way it does, where they somehow don't believe Vaughn, and then this happens because surprises. But if they did believe Vaughn, the plot and arc would have progressed a lot faster. So there's nothing to gain from them not believing him. This is not how I imagined the plot would go. I'm wondering how this person was able to talk to Silver telepathically without literally being Mammoth Mogul. I'm pretty sure the person who thought up Mogul would have given them the right to use him again if they asked. But since the reboot is nothing but disappointment, I can't assume this is Mogul because that'd be fantastic writing and that's not allowed anymore. Silver apologizes to Vaughn, and impressively Vaughn's made sympathetic as he angsts about how he keeps making a fool of himself and he always forgets how much it hurts. Somehow. Still though, there's never any indication he felt this way in AOSCH. He never felt embarrassed once. And I didn't need an entire page to be wasted again on a boring lack of plot progression. It was nice of Vaughn to tell Silver that he doesn't have to stay at his house. Maybe Silver is being with Vaughn still because he feels sorry for him and he wants a friend. Then we see what was blatantly spoiled on the cover. Vaughn shows Silver some flying AI pets of his shaped like hedgehogs, who speak in binary for no reason at all. They're auto-evolving AI that can learn and develop personalities, and even make a great latte. I hate that he said polyconscious though. What's that supposed to mean? That they're a hive mind, aware of each other's experiences? I guess going through the trouble of building these things out of metal he has was more fun and somehow less expensive and easier than simply getting Chow. Maybe there aren't any Chow left, or he can't get access to them in this future. I can compliment this on being a bit creative though, and they're actually cuter than the Chow. And their presence gives a lovable soft side to Vaughn because he's like, hello, yes you got me. Having these guys is a bit more complicated than simply having Chow around. But just having chow would be too typical, and there's no harm in them. And they're understandable. So the story's good at this point, I think. Vaughn shows off a delicate laser device. Why would he make it delicate? It was at least amusing to see that he named something considerably less delicate laser device. Then he shows off a spinner shaker, which I'm sure has been invented already in modern times. So how's that an invention he just made? Then there's an all-purpose exercise machine and juicer. Both of them probably exist already. So far, this isn't really impressing me. This is supposed to be the writer's chance to impress us with his creativity. Instead, it looks like Vaughn has Sonic Boom Knuckles' definition of invention, where he says he's inventing things that were already invented. I remember him having a machine that spins people inside it in the show, so that's not even original. At least Tails pointed out that those things were already invented. Here, there's no self-awareness at all. Then he reveals that he has a machine that makes things bigger. That idea has been done to death too. At least it's more believable than a shrinking machine. I can assume that it restructures the chemistry of the air around the person made it grow so that the molecules become part of their body. Never mind, this doesn't make any sense. That just keep it the same size but with new growth attached to it from all sides. And it's not like you can expand a person like a balloon. I wish it was explained that he powered this up with a Chaos Emerald. Or better yet, a Chaos Drive, so it would be confirmed as magic. The growth rate would only make sense if the person disappeared and then reappeared as super big. Because how could they still be alive in all the time that they're growing? Seriously, why would he inconvenience people other than him by having the robot pet speak in binary and nothing else? Wouldn't they be programmed to understand what he was saying? So then they should be able to speak English. It's just trying too hard to be different instead of making sense. The robot pet returns to normal as I wonder if the growing machine will be a Chekhov's gun. And Vaughn says that his proudest invention is this portal creator. This is at least the best portrayal of Vaughn I've ever seen, because he's more sympathetic now. But it's ridiculous that they changed his design. He still looks weird, so that didn't solve the imaginary problem they had with him. It kinda looks like he's like Frankenstein and like made of metal. And they don't explain that, so that just creates further questions. He says that the interdimensional portal is safe inside the tube. Let me guess, that won't last. And they'll go into the tube to go into a portal to continue the rest of the story arc. Oh, and then they reuse panels from an earlier time Silver showed up, where Vaughn tells Silver about the bullshit explanation for the portals existing. I hate having my time wasted like this. Normally I don't agree with the comic haters when they think that some stuff shouldn't be explained, but when the explanation is this confusing, it really isn't worth it because it makes the concept look stupidly forced and hackneyed. Again, I could assume that they're appearing from magic overflow in the air. Things that don't need official explanations are things where the audience could come up with an explanation themselves that will make sense just fine. So basically, Vaughn tells Silver to look into the portals for him so that they won't lead to chaos across the universe. If all of the arc up to this point was taking place before Worlds Unite even, I wish this in the previous issue could have been released before Worlds Unite. But the number is so far ahead of the Worlds Unite issues that I can't upload the video before the Worlds Unite ones. It would just be confusing. Silver knows Vaughn already and is using telekinesis no problem instead of living in a city where he hides it, so this shouldn't have been released 5 issues late. I really wish I was told how Vaughn made this portal, let alone a tube that can contain it. He could have a Chaos Driver Emerald, that's fine. If he didn't need them to make this, that'd make it look like he has no restrictions at all. In which case I'm wondering why he can't build a time machine. Silver wonders if he could just go and leave the professor to deal with this on its own, and then the writer wastes more space in the comic by repeating the panels from earlier in a tinted color. Come on! This is something I called out Sonic X for. These panels were in the same exact issue as this. Does the writer think we have short-term memory loss? And Silver is telekinesis. I don't buy that he thinks this is way over his head when he closed the last portal just fine. That night, back in the Council's tower, Silver sneaks around in it and actually has to tell Vaughn to keep quiet, and he questions him just as a robot is sneaking around the corner. Silver whispers that it's because of the death robot as they hide behind a corner, and I guess the reason Silver can't simply destroy the robot is because he doesn't want the Council to know he's here. After all, even if he uses his telekinesis to destroy or imprison the council, then what? He doesn't know how to or have the confidence to run the city on his own, though I trust him more than them, but someone will have to fill the power vacuum he'd create. And with the system already built around dystopia, the replacement will either be him or just as evil as the council, and it can't forever be him. He has things to do because of the Genesis portals. And even if he changed the system to be democratic, I'm sure his replacement could be evil and change it back right away. I'd assume Silver would give it a shot, not keep the council in charge when he has telekinesis. And he disapproves of the way they're running things. And maybe his replacement wouldn't be stupid enough to be evil because he knows that Silver would come in and depose him too. This is the whole problem with the arc. The writer did not think Silver through. The entire arc is just wimpifying him. No tyrant would exist in a country with Silver in it. Eggman's lucky Silver doesn't depose him. Does he not care? That's how much Silver's existence breaks the series. The only reason I have any respect for the Silver arc is that at least it's relatively creative. So I'm at the edge of my seat wondering what'll happen next, instead of already knowing the plot because it's from the game. Anyways, there's a ding sound and someone tells Silver that he's returned. I have a question. Why didn't the dinger person just tell Silver what he wanted to right away? Did he think he needed Vaughn? I wonder if he's evil since this helper seems too good to be true. Silver's told it'll guide him, and it turns out only Silver can hear him. The helper says that to know his true power would doom them all, somehow. And he should just know that he's an ally. Then it turns out that the person talking to Silver was one of the city councilmen, coming back as a Chekhov's gunman. Okay, pre-existing character that's not really a Deus Ex Machina anymore. But I still want to know what these creatures are, why the hell they look so weird. He says that the council can't see beyond their ambition, but he wants to live for something more. It turns out it's a girl, called Gold, like that villain in Sonic the Comic Online. What species is she? I guess she's a hedgehog based on the back of her. I guess she looks okay. And thank God we know why they look so weird. They're just wearing masks. But why? Why is that part of the official councilman costume? How are they able to see when wearing it over their eyes? That's stupid. I assumed that were robots, and that'd actually be more logical. That'd be keeping it simple. It'd actually make more sense if the writer had the guts to just go with what we were expecting. That the councilmen are either aliens or robots, implying that they're just running the world how Eggman in the past would have wanted. She says that they should leave here because there's little time left and much for her to explain. And then Silver uses his telekinesis to tear apart the wall so that they can instantly escape the building. No, that'd be good writing. Out of complete nowhere, it turns out that even though it's night, and so I naturally assumed she was the only one up, and everyone else was asleep, the entire council is here and threatened to punish her because her thoughts have led her astray. Huh? Who would think like that? She's in charge of the city just like the rest of them. She has to be able to have thoughts. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to run the city because she wouldn't be able to adapt to any new situations. So the council threatened them. And then Silver uses his telekinesis to hold all of them still so that they can't possibly bother them, since he knows he's already in trouble with them anyways, which means Vaughn will be evicted from his lab and Silver from his home later. So Silver knows there's no point in not defending himself against them. So he uses his telekinesis to levitate them over their heads until he gets to some rope, and ties them up so they can't go after them anymore, buying the hero some valuable time to move. Oh, sorry. I was just writing what I naturally assumed would happen because I have actual logic and a brain. I actually get the character and understand how powerful Silver is. I know that the panel after this has the woman acting scared of the council, but there shouldn't be any real drama at all at this point because Silver is telekinesis. One of the most story-breaking powers in fiction. And yet they waste an entire page on her being scared and the councilman saying to take them. I'm waiting for disappointment right now because I know the reboot is written like dog shit. Instead, an entire page is wasted after this because the heroes panic about being surrounded instead of Vaughn or Silver instantly using his telekinesis on all of them. Gold accidentally sends Silver a psychic message calling herself an idiot who knew this would happen. She says she's sorry because she doesn't deal with stress well, but wanted to look like she knew what she was doing. Why couldn't she? Well, God forbid we have a competent character. Don't tell me this is another weak-willed, feel-sorry-for-me female character like Coral, or Breath of the Wild Zelda. I thought she'd be dignified. She's a councilman. But at least it's interesting that an inexperienced telepath would send her thoughts to Silver by mistake. Still, it should be explained that she just learned she could send her thoughts to people recently, then. She would have learned not to do this. Or if she was always doing this. Because she naturally always had the ability, it would have logically been discovered a long time ago. And she would have been sent to the science center and never come back, just like Silver thought would happen to him. I wonder if all of the councilmen are the people that were sent to the science center and never came back. Or at least all but one of them, since someone had to have been doing the brainwashing. But that would be resolving a plot thread. If she can even make this mistake, she wouldn't still be here because she wouldn't be able to hide her ability from them. This is another instance where the writer didn't think things through. And again, a character is incompetent because Vaughn didn't think to bring a laser device with him. If this was Rick, he probably would have had one. He also would have used his portal gun to escape by now. He's an actual smart person. Then Silver has to dodge an energy attack, which just makes me wonder why the robots took so long to do this. For some reason, they're all politely waiting for the heroes' conversations with each other to end before attacking. And just now does he get mad and think about using his power, which he's had his entire life. The only reason there's any tension in the scene is because the Reboot characters are idiots. So even though I know how they could easily save themselves, I don't trust them to have more than one brain cell. And that's not just scary, it's also frustrating. That's not well-written drama. Oh, instead he uses telekinesis on a metal part of the wall to block the laser attack, instead of just using it against the robots himself. Again, Sonic 06 let him levitate tons of robots at once. Even that's written better. Fuck this. Somehow he gets hit by a laser anyways. This wouldn't happen. This is dumb. This writer shouldn't have any credibility at this point. No good writer would think this would make sense. This is officially the second worst Sonic writer I've ever seen. That used to be Penders. But now he's bumped down to third. Because this writer has all the same problems as Ian Flynn. And the only difference is that he's creative. Penders is creative, but even Penders was better because he was a bit more creative, and he didn't consistently have the main characters be appallingly stupid and incompetent and infuriate me so often that I noticed it and expect it to happen every issue. That is a Flynn trademark and easily my berserk button when it comes to stories. If you want to guarantee I'll hate the story, write the characters like this. No amount of creativity will make me forgive writing as clueless as this, where it makes me hate the characters. The only real problem I had with Penders was that he was the most likely to have plot holes. So he was the most disappointing writer at the time. But plot holes are unavoidable anyways. I'm guessing the writer's gonna wimpify Silver some more to force him and his friends to be kidnapped to force the arc to last longer. When the council could have just believed Vaughn and gotten them kidnapped right away. Wimpification is a shitty writing trope that should never be defended. It is the lamest way to force the villain to be a threat. I have a question. Wouldn't it make a bit more sense if Silver was just restrained right away so that he couldn't use telekinesis through an enchantment spell? Like, the building itself could be enchanted so that no one would be able to use magical powers. The Master Emerald has the power to stop the power of the Chaos Emerald, and Onyx Island was a future version of Angel Island in Sonic Rivals 2, and in Archie Sonic. These councilmen could have used the Master Emerald to weaken Silver. Even better yet, they could have used his Chaos Siphon on him, though I don't know how to power that thing either. I guess Chaos drives. Silver defeats a robot. One robot. And then he gets shot in the back by another one, because God forbid he simply destroy all of them. God forbid Vaughn hear the robot clanking on the floor behind him and tell Silver, "Look up behind you!" Silver would have just lifted up the robots in front of him and moved them around to smack them into all the robots surrounding them, even if he couldn't control robots that are behind him. Again, in Sonic 06, his attack where he hit the ground and created a shockwave, didn't that affect robots behind him too? It's better to be faithful if it makes the main character competent instead of infuriating. So Gold and Vaughn get restrained with energy, and Silver's lying on the floor and apparently passes out as the councilman says, "Let us begin." This so obviously wouldn't have happened after all the experience he has with telekinesis. He won't even need any experience. I'm not the complete gullible idiot this writer thinks I am. I'm not gonna go with the flow and assume the whole story makes sense for no reason. We didn't need another issue of this. Silver would have just broken the legs of all the councilmen threatening him with his telekinesis. Silver wakes up with his friends and restrained to tables by energy, and Gold tells the council that something is waiting out there wanting to get in. And again, the councilmen are delusional morons saying that they've heard her stories before and assume that they're just fairy tales and don't want that to get in the way of scientific discovery. I always assumed Gold would be competent, more so than any of the other councilmen, because she was smart enough to get suspicious of Silver when they weren't. I guess not. She tells them that they don't know what they're doing and tells the idiots not to make her do it. This is a tense scene, but I'm too mad at the forced writing to have any respect for the story. I just want it to be over. How does Gold already know what she's warning them about when they don't? She doesn't say that she got a psychic vision. Sure is powerful of a psychic vision if she can see something from another universe. Why didn't they believe their fellow council member? I feel like I'm experiencing bad fanfiction. It's jarringly dark and edgy, and the writing sucks. An entire page is wasted on redundancy, and the council says that Gold will be bent to their will. I have a question. If they're capable of doing this, why wasn't she bent to their will before? So she's forced to make a portal. I have a question. Since Silver made a portal in an earlier issue, wouldn't he have made more sense to have made this portal? All she could do before this was be a telepath, and she couldn't even avoid sending her thoughts in by accident. Whatever. So a portal gets made and they're going to be the first to go into it. I have a question. Vaughn made a portal himself already. He was already planning on sending Silver into it. Couldn't the arc have easily just continued on in the path I naturally expected to go? Where Silver goes into a portal because Vaughn wanted him to or something? I was excited to see an arc about Silver sightseeing various wacky universes Rick and Morty style, world building the multiverse. That was built up to. If these guys were gonna get sent to another universe anyways, we didn't need all this melodrama where Silver arbitrarily got a message and snuck into the tower instead of Gold simply visiting Vaughn's lab, and then they were forced into the portal. Oh, and that's the end of the story? It ends right before it could get interesting. Thank God that's over. This piece of shit issue was by Even Stanley, who had the issue be so forced that I'm probably gonna remember it as by Flynn. I already instinctively remember the previous issue as being by Flynn because it's so bad, and then I have to correct myself. It starts out with the council being bafflingly skeptical of Vaughn's claims when it was already established that they'd captured people with magical power before. I'd expect them to be the opposite of skeptical. There was no indication that they'd even seen Vaughn before. So them not believing him forces the concept of Silver going back to his lab with him for padding, with its pity for him justifying the new friendship. And I think the only good part of the story was when Vaughn introduced him to all his inventions, like the cute robot pets. But the inventions were not very creative, so the writer couldn't even press me with that. It's not explained how Vaughn can make a portal just fine, when apparently the council needs to brainwash one of their members into using her magic if they want to create a portal. But Vaughn doesn't have to go through all that effort. What completely ruins the story is that Silver's made a complete idiot instead of instantly destroying all the robots with his telekinesis and holding the council still, or even breaking their legs. He deposed them by himself. Instead, he's wimpified into a kidnapping victim, and the one council member that I thought would be competent ended up being a weak-willed, apologizing female character who actually didn't know what she was doing, and she's forced to create a portal that the heroes might be thrown into. If the heroes were all hit by tranquilizer darts by surprise while they were looking the other way, them passing out would have been justified. We didn't need this melodrama leading up to this because Vaughn already told Silver he wanted him to check the portals anyways. It'd be better if it immediately cut to the chase and he just went through another portal there. Why does every universe arc need to be 4 issues long even when it defies all logic? I'd rather the arc be lengthened by Silver going through interesting, crazy worlds. The way this writer wrote, he could have not had Silver even use his telekinesis at all, and there'd be no real difference beyond there's less padding because he got knocked out faster. By completely forgetting how competent Silver would be with its powers, which even Sonic 06 did better, This is the worst possible handling of Silver I've ever seen. I think even fanfiction writers would write him as more powerful than this wimp, unless they hated him and were intentionally trying to make a mockery of him. But then they'd be obvious about it. Have him slip and talk like a parody of himself and have everyone make fun of him. There's a reason I kept having to say Silver has telekinesis.